What's up, everybody? Tim back here at Higgs Garage, and today we have a Jeep. Behind me is my mom's 2015 Jeep Wrangler. It is the Sahara Unlimited, so it's a four-door Wrangler, and it has over 166,000 miles. All I was doing for her, she was having some braking issues. It didn't feel right, she said, and I noticed a lot of brake dust on the front passenger side wheel, and I had to go ahead and determine that we need to go ahead and flush and put all new brake fluid in this thing. I don't even know if it's ever been done. Like I said, it's 2015 with that many miles. It's way overdue if it hasn't been. She did buy it new, and I don't remember doing it. And we did have a problem a while ago with a caliper sticking in the rear on this thing. We since replaced it, put new pads, and I don't remember if we did rotors. We went ahead, decided new hoses, new brake fluid, new rotors, and new pads. I lied, not new rotors. We're having the rotors turned at our local O'Reilly's, so they're gonna go ahead and do that. And we're gonna set this thing up so all the brakes should be good to go on this. Recently, my brother had a problem with a brake hose on it was a 2010 Mercury Mariner. The caliper was new after it had locked up, and we put a new one on. He did, and it was still locking up. It was not acting right. The hose looked fine on the outside, but it's actually on the inside. When they start to degrade, they start collapsing in on themselves, and that fluid can't return and flow properly, making that caliper stick. We replaced the hose, and all is good with it. We're gonna go ahead and just preventative. The hoses were cheap enough on Rock Auto. We're gonna replace them on here and go with what I said. Here's the problem. We are on the driver's side, and as soon as I pulled this rear rotor off, look at all that grease. Yep, axle seal's leaking. We're gonna go ahead and get the axle seal replaced. We need to open up the diff, and we're gonna drain all the fluid out of it. We're gonna unbolt the retainer from the backside of this hub assembly here, or this rear axle, whatever you wanna call it. Pull it out, get everything unbolted, pull it out, and then we're gonna go ahead and cut the bearing and the retainer on the back off, get the seal, get everything off. We're gonna go ahead and put all kinds of new goodies that are going on it. We have new fluid for the rear diff. We got a new rear diff cover gasket. We have our seals and bearings. We got some brake cleaner for good measure, and our brake fluid for the braking system. We're gonna put all that on for my mom. Wait till hopefully tomorrow. We're hoping to get our rotors back. They told me hopefully by tomorrow afternoon they'll have them all turned. And hopefully get this done tonight. Might be a little bit late. Get it all done. That way tomorrow, once we get the rotors, we can slap them on there, put our calipers back together, and this thing can be good to go and back to my mom, and she will have something reliable to drive again. Without much more talking, let's go ahead, get you guys set up. We're gonna pop this rear diff cover off, drain this fluid, get the like I said, get the cover off, scrape all of our gasket material off there, get this axle out of here. I am gonna do a trick that I did on the Jubilee's hydraulic pump. It always seems to work, or help anyways. We're gonna go ahead and place our bearing in the freezer. Now I do plan on doing this tonight. Ideally, I would like to let that sit in the freezer for at least overnight, so it gets really cold. It'll help that bearing press on there easier. I'm hoping that this whole axle assembly will fit on my press, because my press is kind of small. So hopefully I don't got to get creative with that, or we can find a way to get that thing pressed on there. And the freezer trick hopefully will help us. One thing you guys always want to make sure you do when you're doing a diff, right there, that plug, that's your fill plug. Always, always, always take that plug out first, because if you take that cover off and you can't get that plug out, there's no way to fill it, and then you're gonna have to buy a new cover. So you always want to make sure you can take that plug out before you start taking all those off. So just quick side note. The rear cover is off and draining. The gasket came off fairly easy. I actually did replace that gasket and the rear diff fluid not that long ago on here, so that gasket was really easy to come off. If yours hasn't been off, it may need, like I said, a gasket scraper, a razor blades, something to clean that all off there. That way you have that nice and clean. We have here, or what's next, is our ABS sensor. So this guy has got debris on it from our grease. So there's a tab up here. We need to get that off, unhook it here, or unscrew it. So maybe we'll get lucky and we don't even have to unclip it. We can just unbolt it. Let's see. Oh, man. All right, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna get some brake clean, spray some brake clean. I'm gonna put a pig mat on the ground, spray some brake clean on here so I can kind of see, and I don't want to round off this little bolt. So we're gonna try to clean that off. All right, so everybody, pig mat. I don't know if you can really see, it's just this stuff. It's like an oil absorbent pad. That gives us a little bit easier for our bolts. Let's see if I can get in here with this little 1/4 inch ratchet. Yes. So we might get away without even have to unplug it. All right, there's that bolt. Make sure you don't lose that. Oh. Nope, couldn't get that lucky. You can probably leave it right there. But you see all this gunk on here? We're gonna clean that off here in a little bit. Under here, you will see you have these bolts here. I can get a wrench on it. 18s. And there should be 4. There's 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. So we're gonna need to bust those loose and get those off there. So we got all these busted loose. So now we're just gonna take them off. Get this hex out of here. And the reason the diff cover's off is to help get a little pry bar in there and help push it out if we need it. You might be able to do this job without taking that off. So that's kind of up to you if you want to try to get get it taken care of without taking that rear diff cover off and skipping that whole step. You might be able to do that. I know that the fluid was probably a little bit low, which, yeah, I could have topped it off with new fluid. But I'd rather take the cover off. That way I have access to the back of that axle to help pry and just replace the fluid. Even though it's not that old, I don't want to put new fluid in with the old fluid, kind of contaminate or whatever you want to call it. So it's just the way I'm doing it. It's up to you. I'm just going to pop these 2 off, set you guys up, and we'll remove this axle. We have those off there. Let's see if we can get this thing out. Nope. Grab a pry bar and we'll just pry gently against that back axle. God, it's hard to get you guys in there. This guy right here is our axle. There she goes. Be careful, you don't want to mess your brake shoes up unless you're replacing those too, which I don't plan on it. Or your tone ring on your axle, which is what the ABS sensor reads. There she is. And we're about to make a sloppy mess. So we'll try to leave it on this pig mat here. There's the race. Set that there. And all this old fluid. Another reason it's good to drain the diff so you don't have tons of this coming out. Zoom you over here. So here is one retainer. You have the bearing. You have your, So you have your bearing, which is what your race goes over. You have this other retainer right here. And then right here is a seal. Seal, bearing, which the race goes over. We just pulled out of that housing. And then your other retainer. And then this is like a dust cover. This is what helps hold this tight. So all these 3 got to come off. We got to put our new ones on. And the fun begins. I've seen cutting these things off with a grinder and just cut them here, and then you can kind of pry them off. Probably what we're gonna do. And then figure out how we're gonna press these back on with the press that I have with the length of this axle. And hopefully we don't gotta get too creative or figure something out, I'm not sure. These 3 have to come off, and then in the same order, we'll put our new ones on. All right, so first attempt at this, air hammer. Got it, guys. So now we're 1 out of 3. All right, so now it's this bearings turn. And I'm trying to not destroy this. I didn't get a new one of these. Don't see the need to unless we get crazy and destroy it, and I don't want to do that. I know I'm trying the old freezer trick, but I don't think it's going to help me in this case. It's not going to be in the freezer long enough to do anything. We're switching to this little chisel one. But we got to be careful because we do not want to get down and mess the axle up. So we're destroying the cage on there, which is whatever. But we want to make sure that we get this off. Okay, so every little bit's closer, guys. All right, so what I'm thinking is this seal, I might be able to snip it with a pair of side cutters and then get this off so I'm not worried about damaging it. Then we just gotta be careful of the tone ring and the rest of this axle. I don't know why I thought that would work. Stupid idea. Somebody else can laugh at me in the comments for that. Dang, man. Try to cut just a little slit in it without cutting anything else. Gotta be careful of this stuff in my hand. Already done that once. All right. And there you have it. Axle's got everything off of it. Here's the other part of our bearing. What I did was I started cutting, and then I cut a couple different angles, and then I cut one line that I could get that air hammer against better than what was on there. And I think the heat from cutting it helped loosen it up, and then the air hammer also having that lip to dig in helped. So there you have it. Here's our other retainer, undamaged. Here's that leaky, pesky seal. Trash. What we're gonna do next, we're gonna clean up all of our parts, get it ready to put our new seals on. As you can see here, we have this kind of cleaned up, much better than it was. Over here, we have, if I can get it to show down, we have the retainer and the axle cleaned up. Now that we have this stuff cleaned up, we need to figure out how we're pressing this stuff on. So let's go ahead and grab our seal and our retainer, get that stuff set on there, and then we will go get that bearing and the other retainer and figure out the best way to press that thing on. Let's go ahead and open this thing up. And yeah, I would love to tell you guys that the freezer trick was gonna be awesome, and it probably would help, but I wanna get this done tonight. They're cold, probably not cold enough to make a difference, but you never know. And here is our bearing and our race. This is gonna go on. I don't know if you guys can see, I was cutting it on a little bit, so it looks like it goes like this. Our bearing and race. Like this. Our retainer on like that. Actually, it's not. See, it's gotta check my work. There we go. Bam. All right, so I'm gonna double check this orientation. Make sure it's right. You should see the race is gonna go on the inside. So this is gonna stay, this lip, this race, if you took it apart, this would go in first, and then this lip would push against that. So this is sketchy as heck. So I did have to get kind of creative. I had this steel plate that had a big enough area for me to slide the axle through, but not the bearing and stuff. The only problem is the axle's a little longer than the bottom of this press. so it's kind of at an angle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start pressing this in with my safety goggles on as best I can, as slow as I can, without messing this up. See if we can get somewhere. And then once we make it, hopefully, we make it to where we can raise these bars up and have enough room between the press. No, that's not good. So now that's all I got from my jack. I can place this rotor underneath all of it to give me spacers. So the bearing is going on. That retainer does not want to go on. Take it out and check it. Okay, so it looks like it's working. It was just a little bit at an angle, is because this hole on this big piece of metal here is a little bit bigger than I need it to be. I mean, I'm talking just barely too big. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna press a little bit, we'll release it, spin the axle, press a little bit, release it, and we'll just do that and work our way all the way around. And hopefully that will get it. Wow, we're in there now. That is pressed on. Double checked it, and it seems to be where it needs to be. It seems like it's as far as I can get it on. So we're gonna roll with that. We're gonna install it, and hopefully we'll be able to tell if everything seems tight once we get it in there. I mean, it's like I said, there's a little bit of space, but everything should pull tight once we bolt everything in with this retainer. So that should kind of pull everything up against that hub and keep it sealed. Looks good. We got it cleaned up in there. It's a little wet still from the brake clean, but that looks good. Let's head over. I haven't checked in here yet. And that looks like it was before. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that brake clean that I have left over there. And we're gonna clean the diff cover, clean that all up, clean our gasket surface here, clean that up, and I will put that together. My camera is getting low on battery, so I'm gonna do that off camera. And I will see you guys once I get that diff cover all put back together. All right, everybody, that is gonna be a wrap for the Jeep. That is how you're gonna change the rear axle seal on Jeep Wrangler. This one's a 2015. I don't know all the years that it applies or all the vehicles, but I hope that you guys found it helpful and that it helps you whether you're doing a Jeep or something else. Maybe you will have the same sort of procedure or kind of the same ideas. I really hope you guys enjoyed and got something out of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribing, and commenting to the channel. We are trying to hit that 1,000 mark by November. It's gonna be close, but we're hoping to still make it. So we can't do it without the help of you guys. Thank you guys very much. Once again, check out our website, higgsgarage.com. Pick yourself up a hat or some other merch to help support the channel. And we hope to see you on the next one. Thanks again, guys. Have a good day.